Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning into the video for another late night tackle room topic here on intuitive angling. And tonight I'm going to address a topic that a lot of professional anglers are sort of embarrassed by. They don't really want anyone to know about it. And actually, I've had some people ask me about this on and off over the past several years, so I want to talk about it. And that is the embarrassment or the shadiness or the smart move that it is, or whatever you want to call it, about Bass Pro soliciting local information and getting local information and basically building a successful career by soliciting information. And I've been wanting to talk about this a lot because this is a pretty complex topic. It's not as cut and dried as a lot of people make it. And there's a lot of mixed feelings. There's a lot of mixed emotions on both sides. And I'm going to sort of share with you guys my opinion on it, what I think about it, and sort of shed some light on the reality of the situation that a lot of pros that do this don't want you to know about. But real quick, before we get started, just go over a couple of the week's housekeeping tips. If you guys haven't had a chance, go by and check out fishthemoment.com, our lake map breakdowns. And I've been talking about this a lot, but Johnny and I are getting ready to transition into our winter lake map breakdowns. We got lake map breakdowns for all seasons, all lakes all across the country, offshore spots, shallow spots. You can check all that out by going to the lake map breakdown section on fishthemoment.com. Also, on my channel, just want to remind you guys, if you guys are interested in helping the channel out here and to become a member of the channel, you can do that by going to the homepage of my YouTube channel, clicking on the About section, and then click on Intuitive Memberships. And you get, it offers stuff like extra videos, my personal email address for your fishing questions, and it's a really good way to help support the channel if you like what I'm doing here. Okay, let's talk about this a little bit here. The thing that a lot of bass pros don't want you to know about. I'm going to start out with, guys, right off the bat. There are more top pros than you realize, than you know about, that have basically made a name for themselves. They've made a career for themselves. They've won tournaments strictly based upon their ability to solicit information from expert local anglers. Now, this is a real gray area, and I want to talk about this and give it a fair analyzation, a fair assessment of what it is. First of all, I want to say that there's no rules against this in most situations if it's done prior to a tournament cutoff. So I want to clarify that the way this is done, it can be legal or it can be illegal based upon how a pro approaches it. And another thing I want to talk about here is, you guys know I've been really critical of MLF, the Bass Pro Tour. I think basically they screwed a bunch of pros by the way they selected the anglers about not having a qualification. There's a lot of guys fishing the Bass Pro Tour that don't deserve to be there, and there's a lot of guys that didn't get an invitation that have had better stats that deserve to be there. But one thing I will say about the Bass Pro Tour is they have a deal where they have no information as soon as the tournaments are announced. I think this is a great move. I definitely applaud them on that. As soon as the tournament's announced, you don't care if it's a year away, they can't get any information. Most tournaments out there have some type of a cutoff. Excuse me. Anywhere between like a month to like 2 or 3 days before the tournament, where anglers can get information. My point is here, guys, professional anglers are not the ones that should be getting information. They're the ones that should be giving information. But what you have on here, and everybody has done it to some extent, is you got a handful of anglers out there that don't want you to know that they actively solicit information from the best local anglers. You also have some guys on some major pro staffs out there for years. Their sponsors have basically put them in contact with some of the best anglers on the local bodies of water that they go to help them out. You know, have you ever wondered how some of these guys can find a spot? They've never been to a lake or river before, and they find some obscure creek 60 miles away from the takeoff with just 2 days of practice. That's because they've gotten information from locals. That's not because they figured that out on their own most of the time. I'm not saying all the time, but most of the time the way that is. So I want to give you sort of my case, my personal things here. I don't solicit cold call solicit information from local anglers. I've been fishing a long time, and I've got a lot of friends across the country. And if I'm going to a tournament, say in North Carolina or something like that, and if I have a friend that lives there, I may call them up before the cutoff and say, hey, what's the conditions there? What kind of weights has it been taken to win tournaments? I mean, what's the lake conditions all over the lake? I'll try to get some real generic information. A lot of times we're at gas stations, and there's always at a tournament town that somebody will pull up to you at a gas station and they want to tell you where to fish. We all have that happen to it. So from that standpoint, there's every single pro out there has gotten information at some point. But specifically what I'm talking about in this video, the secret a lot of pros don't want you to know about is there is quite a few, more than you would realize, more than you would suspect, professional marquee anglers out there that have literally made a career by having such an incredible network of anglers across the country that a lot of them have just cold called. They'll read through tournament results and they'll see some dude that is won a tournament or finished second or third in a tournament. Some of these pros will just call these guys up. They don't even know who they are, and probe them for information. They'll go down and practice with them. They'll pre-practice with them. They'll haul them around in the lake. I have been in tournaments, guys, pre-practicing for tournaments, and I have seen top bass pros in the passenger seat of other boats getting hauled around by locals showing them where to fish. Every time I see that, I just shake my head. I'm not going to name any names. I could name a bunch of names, and I'm not going to. But I'll tell you one thing, a lot of them are household names that do this and have done this for years. But the thing about it is the way that a lot of guys have done this is it's completely legal, the way they've done it. But there's also like gray areas out there. I have seen and heard about situations where there'll be sort of obscure websites set up where nobody knows how to access this website, and one guy will get on there and say, hey, I caught fish in this creek here, and even though it's on the web, it's public information, nobody else can access it. People get information like that. There's been a lot of information about people will get information after the off limits. There's a lot of really gray areas in that particular area. Now we have polygraph tests in the tournaments, and there's been a few people that have been disqualified from tournaments because they've violated that off limits. They've gotten information, after the cutoff. That has happened before, but that's the main deterrent for not doing it. But basically, the point of this video that I want to make here is that don't think it's not happening, because there's bass pros out there, and like I said, I'm not going to be some guy that just completely exposes everything. It's well known amongst the pro anglers about the other pros that do this. There's a handful of pros, more than a handful, that have a reputation about soliciting local information. It was even worse before the Bass Pro Tour. A lot of the guys that have moved over to there, they were known for that in the past, some of them, but since they're under a different set of rules now, they can't do that. But to make a long story short, guys, there's probably about 20 top pros out there that I can think of right off the bat that have made a career off of being able to solicit high quality local information. And there's a big difference, because you can get local information from somebody that's just an average angler, and that information can be wide ranging. It can be out of date. It can be overrated. It can be, they may think they know more than what they do. But the pros that I'm talking about, a lot of the marquee pros that have done this before, is they are connected, and they've been connected through networks, whether it be through sponsors or just other people or whatever, or maybe some guy wants to get to know a pro real good. They've been connected to high quality information, guys that win tournaments on lakes, guys that understand the lakes on an intimate level, and it makes a huge difference. And for me, the worst thing about that is when you get beat by somebody that where you have found your fish on your own, and you got beat for somebody that got local information. I can count, there's 2 tournaments that I have fished that I finished second place in that happened to me, where I know for a fact that the angler that beat me, that won the tournament, got local information to find those fish and wound up beating me out in the tournament. So it happens all the time out there. It's an injustice, it is, but it's one of those areas that you know, tournament organizations, tournament directors have not done a good job in you know, creating an environment that makes that impossible to do. And like I said, I applaud the Bass Pro Tour, the MLF, for putting a year off limits on the tournaments and being strict about it. But other tournament organizations haven't done that. So that, from that standpoint, it's you know, that a lot of that can be fixed and be you know, stopped immediately by doing that. So anyway, I just wanted to pass that along there. Like I said, I've had some people ask about it. I've had subscribers from the channel that have sent me messages, said, hey, you know, if a buddy of mine, you know, helped out such and so in the tournament and he got the top 10 in it or something like that. I've had numerous, you know, messages to me like that. So I just wanted to throw that out there. A lot of people may know it, a lot of people may don't know it. A lot of pros, like myself, that have done it, they know what's going on. A lot of pros have done it and they're okay with it. And I don't have, you know, here's the thing about it. There's 2 ways to think that I think about it. One way is a lot of the guys that do it, their justification for it is they're out there to make a living for their family. And if it's legal and they're able to do it and they're not breaking any rules, they're going to do it. And I can understand that point of view. But in my own case, my situation is, I think there's an element of integrity as a professional angler, that you don't solicit information on a cold call from locals. Now, I'm not talking about if you know somebody or something's came up like out of random chance and you got some information on a random chance from somebody, or you knew somebody like that. I'm talking about people that every single tournament they go out and they solicit information every single time. So from that standpoint, it's like, I've always thought that, like, professional anglers should act like professional anglers, and professional anglers shouldn't solicit information from other anglers that are not professional anglers. That just doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, there's not a single pro out there that has not gotten some type of information from local anglers. I've gotten it myself. Nobody has been immune to it. Zero people have been immune to it. But specifically what I'm talking about is the more than what you would realize guys out there that have made a living and a career for decades by using this as part of their game plan. They use local information as part of their game plan every single tournament to develop a game plan. So that's just one of the little dirty, dark reality secrets of pro fishing. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning into the video. Much appreciated. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't had a chance to. That'd be much appreciated, and we'll see y'all later.